Welcome to Ofofo Studio. My guest for today is Devam Shah. Devam Shah has been a CISO with like really large companies like Teachment, Byju's, Meditab, and TCS,
Yeah,
among a lot of other names, right?
correct.
Devam, it's great to have you on the show.
Thanks a lot, Angad, for inviting me. It's my pleasure to be a part of this show and really happy to share what I have learned throughout my journey.
Absolutely, man. The pleasure is all mine. So I just want to understand that you've been a CISO for quite a bit of time now.
Yeah.
Right? How have you seen the role evolve over the years?
Yeah, so what I have seen is now CISO become very important part of the company and the board. Now CISO evolved from one cost center function
Yeah.
to a decision making function.
Correct.
So that is the evaluation I have been seeing. I have witnessed it throughout my career. When I started my career, CISO was merely a cost center. The role of the CISO was just to make some compliances and other to some of the customer requirements. From there, it evolved to a role where it has now very important place in a board. And I should thank government and lot of other efforts provided by multiple agencies to create the importance of the privacy, and because of that now CISO is very important role in any company.
Right.
And security become very important function.
Right. It also has to, I think, do with the amount of digital penetration that has gone through across all
Correct.
industries, right? So now it, like, in terms physical security is a given for all companies.
Yeah.
Now I think like there's a ancillary function which is a parallel function like a CISO which protects all the digital assets within the company and all the customers that they're interacting with. So Devam, I mean, how does one get to be a CISO?
Yeah, so there are basically two ways to become a CISO.
Okay.
Number one is like you are excellent into compliance, and then you know a lot of legal frameworks.
Right.
And then you understand lot of compliances. You might be into IT and serving there for like 10, 15, 20 years, and then from there you eventually move to the cybersecurity. So that is one pathway where you are having IT background or the legal background, and then you move to the CISO background. I have seen a lot of people who started their career with IT or as legal things, compliance part, and then become the CISO. There is also one journey which is second part, and I came from that path. Like I was a hacker initially. I was totally into technical things. So you are into cybersecurity from beginning.
Right.
You explore each of the field, like starting from application security or infrastructure security or any other domain of the security. So you start there and then eventually transfer to each of other areas, and then understand like okay, importance of that, get the expertise into that, and then evolve as a CISO.
Correct.
Yep.
So I think like the second one that you just mentioned, that is a more hands-on approach,
Correct.
right? Like you're working from the bottom up and you understand each aspects of what it's like to be a security professional.
Yes.
So Devam, what was your first entry point into security?
Yeah, so
What was your role?
Yeah, so I will, even before starting my corporate journey, when I was in college, I was into hacking. I was into computer engineering and everybody was developing. I was also very good in development. So I just, out of curiosity, I started exploring like how I can access somebody else's computer, and then I went into that entire world of the hacking. It was like very a beginning of my career, I could say, and then eventually I learned like how you can find out the bugs into website, how you can get access to the website, and there I started my journey as a information security, as an ethical hacker. I was into bug bounty, I was into application security, and then I moved to then I did my MBA from
What year was this? Around when?
I was into hacking like 2010 11.
Some 10, 11, yeah.
Yeah.
Been a while.
Yeah.
Who were your key influences at that time? Like what were you reading on, or who were you following?
Yeah, so at that time, one of our seniors were there, like Sunny Bhagela was there. So he's I think running some firm right now. So he is one of the he is Gujarati and one of the senior. So was connected with him. Then there was also one, 2, 3 other persons. So I was reading their blogs and understanding from there. That was my starting point, and from there, definitely once you learn and have some help, then you learn like how to get the knowledge from internet and how to connect with the communities, and from there I started my career. And then automatically your network grows, you have that kind of network
Correct,
from where
correct.
you get the help from the same like-minded people. So that is how I started my career.
So you were doing a lot of bug bounties, you just mentioned.
Correct.
Can you take us through some of the earliest bugs that you reported and what companies they were in?
Yes, so some of the bugs, like I will mention Facebook, like okay.
Wow.
So yeah, so in the Facebook at the time it was possible, like with one email ID, it was possible to access two accounts. Like if you have one email ID, it's kind of account takeover, kind of vulnerability was there, and it's very early stage. So just you intercept the request with burp, and then you put some other person email address, and just then enter, just pass on your email ID, and you will be able to create the actual backdoor into the Facebook. So that was one. Then in Android, buffer overflow was there. Like okay, you continuously overflow some of the applications, and once you overflow that applications, it was possible to access critical information of other applications.
Wow.
So those are, apart from that, many other websites were there, and it was I think now security has evolved a lot, because at that time even like very simple ways were there, like you just answer some 2-3 secret questions and able to access somebody's Gmail account. And even those some files were there. If you send that file and the person click on that, then you have entire key log of that person. So those kind of things were possible. Now even you don't have antivirus, these kind of things are not possible. So that was different era, I should say.
All right, all right. So what did it progress on to after that? So from bug bounties, where did you go?
Yeah, so bug bounty, I got internship into proper development. So I did full stack development. But then I understood like, okay, this is not something I am very much keen into. So then I did entire full stack development, even Android development I learned. So it was a period of 1 year kind of. But then I thought like, okay, no, I want to pursue my career into information security only. I don't want to go into development. And then there were two options. One is like find out a job into information security, which was very rare at that time. I'm talking about 2012-13. So and second option was like, okay, I should do some master into that. So then I did MBA. So it's MBA, but it's a techno-managerial course. Like I did from Symbiosis, and that was IT business management. And my specialization was the information security management. So it's properly created for the IT business management and how information security plays very important role into the company. And the main thing about Symbiosis at that time, they invited lot of CISOs. Like I met TCS CISO at that time, I met a different big company CISO at that time. So they gives us the lecture, and we have chance to interact with them. So that enhanced my knowledge, that helped me in understanding like how security plays a very important role in the business. What is actual security? Like security is much beyond than hacking and application security.
Absolutely,
Yeah, so those all understanding I got during that course, and then I moved to the TCS.
You made a very important point over here, Devam, that security is more than hacking and your normal application security. What else is there?
Many things like so yes, so initially any students or anyone who is at the fresher level or maybe not from the security background, for them information security is equal to hacking. Like somebody hack, then you defend them. That is
it's the opposite of hacking for them.
Yes, opposite of hacking. But what I learned is like security is actually how you create the defense in depth. It's more like creating the entire strategy. Like if I give you example of national security, then national security army is not just about when attack happen and you prevent the attack. It's entire the preparation, how you create the preparation. Like if I give you the example of one national level security, the same kind of things apply also here. Like every time nation is not at the war, but they need to be prepared. They need to check internally like any bugs are there, any vulnerabilities are there. Also they need to have very strong network, which I can say it's like a SOC. You listen to different sources, like okay, if there are chances of any attack or something, so we call it draw in India or some secret agencies. But the same thing we call it in company SOC, like where we implement the things and where we listen to the machines and we try to understand what kind of threats are there. We do the dark web monitoring. So this is similar to like what any defense program of a country does the
Exactly.
same way we do. Then one thing is like also internally we need to monitor like any employee is taking out the data, if what kind of harm an internal employee can do. So also we have the internal agencies like FBI is there in USA. So this kind of entire setup,
Yeah.
this entire setup is about security. Now even above that, like okay, defense ministry is there which creates the different policies and all those. According to that, in companies also governance team are there who needs to create the different policies, because they need to, there should be some particular guideline which needs to be adhered to.
Yeah.
So these all things created. So security is much beyond this attack and defense. But yes, finally the goal is like if in case any attack happen, then how we are able to protect our company and what kind of things we can do so we minimize the chances of any attack or uncertain event.
Right. That's a brilliant example, Devam.
Thank
I've
you.
never been, I've never had it explained to me like that. But tell me one thing, for us, taking just that example, for a smaller nation, there are only some things that you need to do. But as the size of the nation and the population increases, the complexities also increase.
Yes.
Similarly, bigger company interacting with a lot of customers, having a lot of partners, having a lot of employees, the complexities would be immense.
Yes.
And they'd just grow exponentially.
Correct.
How does one tackle that?
So from an enterprise point of view,
No, as a CISO, as a security professional, you see your organization growing. I mean, it grew from say 1,000 people in 1 year to say 5,000 in the next.
correct.
And everything
Yes, yes,
across the
yes,
board
yes.
growth is there. How do you increase your just like you said, like your defense parameters and also internal monitoring, external monitoring? How do you increase that?
Yes, so really interesting question. So I like to start with a very small company,
Okay.
and we'll go through the entire journey. Like okay, so if you have started a small company, then what I believe is even you are one individual, everybody wants security, and security is a basic right rather than having a privilege or having something luxurious thing.
Right.
Even one very small person or one person who is doing normal day-to-day job, let's take one person who is delivery guy.
Right.
They also want to have security of their family.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
So the same manner, even a small company of 10 employee wants to have some kind of security. It should be a necessity. Unfortunately, because of some of the lot of premium tools are there and many things are marketed in a way like security become a luxury. But
Correct.
for it is not like that. You can also implement very good amount of security even for the small company, and eventually when a company become a bigger, then you automatically how company become bigger, like because they are having more business, they are having more revenue.
Okay.
So it should be a percentage of the revenue rather than
Got
like
it.
okay, you have only 2 people security team or 3 people security team. Based on the percentage of the revenue or based on the percentage of the employee count, the security team should evolve, and based on the business it should evolve. So automatically once the revenue rises, your budget also rises, and based on the more budget you can have, then premium tools, you can have more luxurious things or
Correct.
more sophisticated tools which you can implement slowly.
Right.
And then you can increase your security level.
Got it. So for someone who's just starting up, right? I mean, they've got a very small company and security is not their primary focus.
Correct.
Their core competency is completely different.
Yes.
But they still need some security parameters in place. And because of not having a lot of money, they cannot go for such premium tooling,
Correct.
right? So what can a person like that do?
Yeah, so this is very interesting thing because I have worked with a lot of founders.
Okay.
And what I learned is no founders like to breach their data.
Yeah.
Even at
Who would like
yeah,
that?
exactly. Even you are founder, nobody likes,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Nobody likes like okay,
Yeah.
somebody comes and take out their all data, hack
Absolutely.
into their
Worst nightmare.
Yes. So nobody likes that, but as you correctly mentioned, the problem is like tools are very highly costly and the revenue is not at the mark, so they are
Correct.
actually compromising. But what I learned is over the period of time is like it is possible to deploy very good level of defense in depth, very good amount of the security, even with the open source tool.
Oh.
Yeah, so you can implement like I have worked in defense sector when I was into TCS. I worked with huge banking customers, and I worked with some of the government projects as well of India. So I have seen world class security. when I was working with TCS, and it is, believe me, it is possible to implement almost same kind of security, maybe 80-90% of that
Wow.
with almost zero cost. So yeah,
That is music to my ears.
possible. Yeah.
Okay. How do you do that?
Yeah, so what I have done is, like, I will explain you with one example. Like when I was in TCS, then as I told, I worked with a lot of defense customer, our Indian government. One of our project was like Eka supercomputer. So that is at that time one of only supercomputer of India, and lot of ISRO's projects were happening. World class securities were deployed.
Wow.
All the controls were deployed. I was in charge of the data center and cloud when I was working in TCS. So I was responsible of entire infrastructure security there, and I learned a lot of things there. Then I moved to the Medidab. So in Medidab, which is a medium scale company operating in US, and I really like to mention one name, Mr. Mike, who is the chairman of Medidab. And Mike's approach was fabulous. Like he told Devam, I understand, like you have seen this kind of security, but can you give me some tools, like how can I deploy the same level of security with less cost? Because yes, it was a small organization, not a big like TCS or not big like some Boeing or ISRO or something like that. Okay,
Yeah.
they have limited budget. So his approach was, okay, give me very good comparison, like if I deploy the same control with open source and if I deploy the same control with the top Gartner leader tool,
Yeah,
what
yeah.
is the difference? Then I started my R&D and I started my journey of open source from there. And over the period of 5-6 years, I created the entire playbook. With that, you can deploy the same kind of security, or maybe 80-90% kind of security with the open source tools.
Amazing. Whatever industry you're in.
Yeah, whatever industry you are in, even compliance, even if you are into RBI or fintech, RBI never says like you need to have paid tools. What they say is like, okay, you need to have phishing campaign, employee awareness once in this much of time period, or this in this kind of time period. You need to have antivirus, you need to have firewall. They says that, right? They don't say like, okay, you need to implement this Gartner leader or that Gartner leader.
Absolutely not.
So if you can achieve the same thing, then I believe like it solves the purpose. I will give you an example. Like, okay, if you are a fintech, a small company, and you have budget of, for an example, 30 lakhs rupees for this year for the security. Now you have two approach. Like one approach is you buy one Gartner leader or one good tool, which will come into 30 lakhs. You deploy that one tool and your security budget is done.
Right.
You can't spend over your business, like your revenue is like 5 crore, you can't spend more than like 5 crore, 6 crore, right?
Yeah.
So you need to spend in a limit. Also you need to manage other expenses, you need to make the profitability. So your budget is 30 to 50 lakhs, you deploy one tool, it's done. Now next year again it increased by 10 lakhs, you deploy one other tool, it's done. Rather than that, what I suggest is you go with the entire open source stack, where you can deploy all the things. Like you can have endpoint security, you can have network security, you can have vulnerability testing, you can have secure code testing, you can have CSPM, everything you can have in that budget. Even after deploying all the things, you might be saving few amount. And then once your business increases, you can upgrade one of the tool, like, okay, now I have additional 20 lakh rupees, then let's upgrade endpoint security, which is more priority to me, from open source to the premium one.
Correct.
And eventually when your company becomes larger, then you have the same stake but with the premium tools and more sophisticated one.
Correct.
So I think that should be the best approach, rather than just taking one tool and going with that.
Absolutely. But the thing is, not everybody possesses the same kind of knowledge, right? Like normally in such companies, it will be the CTO or the head of engineering who'd be doubling up as a CISO.
Yes.
And like for them, they don't want to go into into that rabbit hole of finding what that open source tools are.
Yes.
It'd be like, okay, the first thing that comes up on Google whenever I search for certain concepts, and just pay for that. And my job is done. But it still requires somebody with your kind of knowledge to come in and guide them.
Yes.
Do you work with smaller businesses and help them out?
Yeah, definitely. So if you see my overall career, then after TCS, it's mostly with the medium and small scale businesses. And as I am from Gujarat, I have some of the businesses, like my father-in-law is running some businesses, some manufacturing firms. So their security and all those things were deployed by me only. Like I definitely,
Amazing.
they will ask like, okay, deploy at least something so we don't get hacked. Although it is manufacturing, but
Yeah.
many
But still.
things are there which we need to be taken care of.
Correct.
So yes, I have helped a lot of friends, and if you see my journey, also it is in the startup and medium scale organization, and the same kind of problem I have seen, like budget crunch. So rather than buying one thing, I have always gone with that approach, and over the period of time, I have developed that entire playbook. With that, you can implement at very cheap rate, but get very effective security. So that is what I have come with, and that is very excellent thing you have highlighted, like CTO.
Right.
So basically, CTO's role is to develop the product,
Yeah.
rather than working on these all things. And you know how Google and anything work, because whoever
Yeah.
pays the money, those all things come into the top. It's very
Correct.
hard to find out the actual free things, because they don't spend any money into marketing.
Absolutely not.
They don't have any marketing thing. And also, if you find out some tools, then how it will work in your environment, and
Correct.
all things requires a lot of effort.
Yeah.
So it's very hard to hire a CISO. Even what I say, CISOs are coming with premium package. Like,
Yeah.
so it's
Not
very
very- yeah.
hard to hire a dedicated person
Right.
for this kind of role, and where your priority is different. So generally they end up buying in one or two tools, and then they deploy. Rather than that, what I suggest is like they can reach out to people like me, or there are multiple people who have developed their entire stake on the open source tool. So they can reach out to them, and I am happy to help. Even there are such communities are there, they are happy to help. So they can suggest like, okay, based on your environment, based on this thing, you can use this open source thing, you can use this tool. There are also tools which provide you things at free of cost
Right.
for a limited amount of users. Like
Correct.
if you have less than 50 users, then there are certain premium world's best tool which provide you free of cost. Then when you increase, then definitely you need to pay, because when you are increasing, your revenue is also increased. So these kind of things are already there, and people like us who has worked on this from last 5-6 years can share their knowledge, and then we can grow the things together and help the world to become more secure.
That's very generous of you, Dev. Devam, you mentioned that there are various open source tools that one can go after, which give you a nice substitute for all the premium tooling that is already available.
Correct.
Can you take me through some of the popular names that some of the viewers can?
Yeah, 100%. Because I really appreciate the people who created this kind of technology and make it open source.
Yeah.
So we all can consume. And based on my knowledge, I have filtered out really good open source tools which are actually working fine. So I will give you with one example. Like, okay, so when I was working in Meditech, I gave example of Mr. Mike, who is chairman of Meditech, and he told like, okay, how we can save the cost for Dr. Catalyst, who was one of our subsidiary, and they are running on their BPO environment. They don't have to have so high configured system, and they can run on the very simple system. So what we did there, like we created the entire system based on Raspberry Pi,
Okay.
which is coming very cheap.
Yeah.
And then one desktop will
interesting.
be
Yeah.
and it's it save like almost 40,000 rupees per computer.
Wow.
So almost 1,000+ members are there,
Yeah.
and you can calculate the cost, and it was running fabulously. Because the thing is, maybe you need to teach them, because they are from non-tech background, the BPO person, but
Yeah.
they need to access everything over web only.
Absolutely.
So we have created that, and it was working fine. So that was one example, like where we entirely replaced the ecosystem with Raspberry Pi, and it was very tightly secure environment. Physical security was also there, because it was into healthcare, so patient data and all those things were there. So everything, anyway, desktops were there, so they need to anyway come and work. So we replaced the things with Raspberry Pi, and it was working fine. That was one example.
That's very smart, actually. I've never heard of someone doing that.
Yeah.
Like normally people would just go for like desktops or like whatever the end device is.
Correct.
But using a Raspberry Pi to simulate some of those things, that's genius.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And so that was like a total influence from the higher side, and I think like that kind of things were there, and I learned by doing that. So yes, and other from in the security point of view, like if you want to achieve the cloud security, right? Cloud security, many companies are on the cloud security. There is one tool called Scout Suite.
Okay.
So you explore that. It's very easy to use Scout Suite, and you can integrate. You even don't need to give lot of permission. Just as per their documentation, one account should be created, and it should have very basic minimum rights over your AWS, Azure, or even GCP. It works on all three environments.
Nice.
You give that rights to that tool, and then do some configuration, which is very well written in the GitHub repo of that tool. You do that step by step, create one Docker and run that all the things, and once it is running fine, believe me, it gives you very interesting results. Like you can compare it with the most premium tool in the market. So it can serve the purpose of the CSPM. Maybe you need to run it manually daily.
Yeah.
Daily you need to run it, or even you, if you have some knowledge, you can put it into the scheduler and run daily, and then get that, do some basic coding, and then understand what are the changes are there. Even I have developed that in case any some new things are there, automatically it triggers the alert, which requires very basic amount of coding.
Right.
You do that and you have your own CSPM.
Yeah.
So that is one example.
It saves thousands of dollars actually.
Yeah, CSPM is so costly.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that is one example which I have deployed in multiple organizations and working perfectly fine. Then second one is Bandit. So Bandit is for the SAST security testing. So like source code, if you want to test your how secure your source code is, then there are premium tools which again are very costly.
Correct.
But you can integrate it with your source code and scan it very easily. So SonarQube and Bandit, this goes in very good way, and you can integrate both the things. Also it is possible you have DevOps, and you can integrate into your DevOps cycle. It is on Jenkins or in GitHub Action. I have worked on these two. Apart from that, if there are some other
But these are the most
DevOps,
popular ones.
yeah, other DevOps things you can also integrate. I am very confident. So you can integrate Bandit, and whenever any release happen, it checks like, okay, if the code is secure, and you can set some of the basic rules, do
Nice.
some configuration, like high and critical vulnerabilities are there, then it won't go ahead. So that kind of customization you can do.
Nice.
So Bandit is one other tool. Then one very interesting tool I like to mention, that is Trivi. So Trivi, you can do actually your Docker scanning.
Oh.
So now many companies are moving to the microservices
Yeah,
and container based thing.
Yeah.
So if you want to scan your Docker images, you can scan it with Trivi, and also it is possible to do automatically. Also if you want to do SCA, software component analysis, because you might be using lot of open source library and you want to see like any library is vulnerable, then Trivi you can do the same.
Okay.
So yeah, there are many such tools, but yes, these three tools as of now on top of my mind. We can like, or any else you want to like specifically seem like, okay, if you want to deploy SIEM, which is really costly,
Yeah.
then Wazoo is very good.
Wazoo, yeah. Wazoo.
Wazoo, I think it's very famous and it's really good. So
Yeah.
I have run Wazoo for like really big company, and we deployed the entire SOC over Wazoo, and it was working fabulous. Like you can integrate almost all the log sources and everything, and you can use the Wazoo.
Nice.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sandev.
Yeah.
Cut. So you highlighted a problem about, like, just touched upon a certain thing, which is that there is a lack of awareness about security and privacy, even in general culture. When we're not talking about companies, but even among the normal population.
Correct.
What can be done to increase more awareness among the people?
Yeah, so first thing is like I have mentioned in some of the podcasts, like if you are a tech guy or something, it is our duty to help our family.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, it is not necessary all of our family members are techie.
Absolutely.
And the frauds are increasing day by day.
Yeah.
Like I can give you one example, like my father just got retired, and I don't know how this person get the information, but he started getting these fraudulent calls. And they know like he might have some money or something, but he knows like his son is working in some security thing, and he called, and I was able to prevent the things, and he is also aware, because many times I talk about that, like, okay, don't give your OTP, don't share anything with this thing. So yes, I think we need to work with our elderly, or we need to work with our children and educate them, like, okay, what is security, how important it is, and for that we need to first of all understand like what is the importance of this thing, because these things are real, it's not something like
Absolutely.
yeah.
And the losses, like, the kind of financial losses some people have undergone,
Yeah.
it's insane. It goes into crores.
Correct.
Yeah, which is, so again, like, what I think is something, it is something that should be taught really from an earlier age.
Yes.
Because there is no avoiding, digital devices now, right? Like,
Yes.
you're, like, a significant chunk of your life is now spent online.
Yes.
And that is a terrain that has not been navigated so much because it's just being built right now.
Correct.
So, what can be done at an initial stage? So, like, again, like the hackers, they'll go, or scammers, they'll go after vulnerable people, like older people who won't know much, or younger people who would
yes.
be more susceptible to things like cyberbullying and all that.
Correct.
So, do you think that something like this can be introduced in schools at a very
Yes,
earlier level?
it is very much important. Like recently, I saw one very good campaign of New Zealand government.
Okay.
So you can also search. There is one beautiful campaign of New Zealand government on the cyber security and specifically for the children.
Okay.
So they entirely showcase everything so beautifully, and it's really craft of work. Like so, the similar manner, I 100% agree with you. Schools should at least implement cyber security or some kind of awareness thing into their curriculum. If not into the curriculum, at least they should invite the guest lecturers or the person who are into the security field, and they can come and then they can share some knowledge to the children, like okay, what to do, what not to do, what kind of things should be done. Because yes, you have highlighted very good point, and that is happening. Like cyberbullying is a real thing. So this kind of, and this small children, son and daughters are affecting with this kind of things. Like okay,
Right.
somebody is commenting bad or somebody is doing that, they are getting actually affected. So
There's
we
a
need to teach them.
definite psychological damage that comes
Yes.
with it. Yeah.
We need to teach them. Also, there are cases like if some bad person get to know about their location and they know like their parents are at that level or that level,
Very scary.
then yes, it can become next very scary.
Yeah.
So yes, it is very important. Like it should be introduced in very early stage of the education, like maybe even primary school or something like that. It should be introduced.
Okay. And so, what kind of predictions can you make, Devam, for security? You've seen it evolve in the last 10, 15 years.
Yes.
So, what do you think the next 10, 15 years are going to be related to cybersecurity in the world?
Yeah, so cybersecurity will definitely evolve, and what I believe is, as soon as you mentioned that correctly, like digitization. So as soon as everything get digitized, it is mandatory to protect the digitization.
Correct.
As it is new technologies are coming in, like AI is now like 1.5 year back, 2 years back. I think I also came here, and when we met,
Yeah.
AI was just scratching the surface.
Correct.
Like it was not that popular. Now I believe like everybody is using AI in their day-to-day life.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
So these kind of changes we are witnessing, and suddenly it is getting changed. Now
Yeah.
any new technologies are coming, then with that also new level of security threats are also getting introduced.
Absolutely, yeah.
So it is evergreen field, and I believe like if you are a student and want to pursue your career into cybersecurity, I
Yeah.
think it is the best thing in the world. Like today it's AI, tomorrow it can be something else, day after tomorrow it's something like else, but data will be there, and this new technology will have a different way to handle that data. So definitely it is required somebody to protect that data, and for that cybersecurity is required.
Okay.
So yes, cybersecurity will increase day by day, and even though at one stage, maybe after a decade or 15 years, if it becomes the saturated, like everybody has the cybersecurity knowledge and all those things after many years, then also it will be an evergreen field.
Right. So, for the young ones who wish to get started in the field of cybersecurity, and they wish to develop competencies and skills such as yours, and they want to get on a path that you followed, how do they go about it? What are some of the things that they can do to get started?
Yeah, so first thing is like lot of things are available free of cost over internet. Just start exploring, be a part of such communities. Like there are a lot of community things happen, be a part of that, where you can spend very little money and then you can be a part of, you can join the conferences, you can go to the conferences, become the part of the community, connect with the like-minded people,
Yeah.
and then start exploring the things. Because what I believe is, if you want to pursue a career into cybersecurity as a real techie guy, or want to become uh, become one higher successful person in cybersecurity, then curiosity is the key.
Absolutely.
You are not curious, then it's very hard to survive in the cybersecurity world, because everything is evolving. Like I give one beautiful example, like okay, even in technology, like in a company, if the stack is on Java, then although Python has come, Go language or Elixir has come, but still you will be on Java only.
Correct.
You won't overnight change entire of your stack to the next language.
Correct.
But the security is the thing where you need to learn. Even in the Java, today there are 1,000 vulnerabilities. Tomorrow there will be 1,050 vulnerabilities. Day
Correct.
after tomorrow, 1,100 vulnerabilities will be there.
Correct.
So you need to understand the things, like okay, what kind of things are there in my infrastructure. It's like crafting. Okay.
Yeah.
So one thing is, you are technologically very sound. You understand your stack. You understand various stack. It's not only one stack, because multi companies can work on different language. My great learning was on Ruby.
Okay.
This Teachment is on Python. Medidev was in different technologies. So you need to understand different coding, different things, and based on that you need to have the skill to map it with the threats.
Right.
And then according to that you need to create the metrics. So yes.
That sounds very easy, but is very hard to do.
Yes.
So, like, if to help the other people, if you can tell me what kind of information do you regularly consume? What kind of books do you read? What kind of videos do you watch? What kind of movies do you watch? Stuff like that.
Yeah, so my daily routine is like, okay, after waking up and all those things, I 100% spend at least 30 minutes to 1 hour in reading latest news of security.
Okay.
Then what are the trends are happening. As I told, I am part of a lot of communities, so I just check all the WhatsApp group, like any new things are happening. I have subscribed to a lot of forums, so I check that any new vulnerabilities has come, and then I already have my product things and everything in my mind. So if something is related to my product thing, if something is related to my thing, so that is mandatory for me. Like I read that. And then apart from that, books, I technologically I do these kind of things, and technologically, like I read like normal magazines and whatever are getting published.
Yeah, just to be on top of the industry.
Correct.
Okay, all right. And then what else happens in your day? This is just the morning part, I guess.
Yeah, so generally, okay, so my routine is like, okay, I generally wake up very early. I am early bird kind of thing. Like initially when I was into hacking, I was night owl. Like I used to work till 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m., 5 a.m. kind of thing. But now I change, because one important thing I learned is health is very important. Correct. If you want to become a world-class leader, then health is very important.
Absolutely.
Because if you are not healthy, you are taking a lot of leaves, then you cannot become the world-class leader.
No way.
It is very much important in this kind of stress. Yes, one important thing for the student is, this is very stressful job. Like security is always stressful job. Anything can happen at any time. So you need to have very peace of mind. Like okay, so I wake up very early. I changed recently, like last 2 years, and it's hard learning for me. But now I have adopted to that life. Like okay, I wake up like almost 4 a.m., 5 a.m. kind of thing.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's quite early, but yes, I wake up and then I do meditation in the morning. Then I read some good books, like mostly on the spirituality and religious books like Gita or some other religious things I read, or the spirituality like yogi and all those things. So after that, around 6 o'clock I go to the gym. So 6 to 7 I do the physical exercise, because that is physical. Mental fit is important, physical fit is also important. Then around I come around at 7:30 and I start my day by reading the news and having the breakfast. Around 9:30 I go to the office, and then my day is generally for 10 to 12 hours, and that is how CISO's work is. Like around 9:30 I reach office, and till like 8:30 or 9 o'clock I work. I stay in the office, and then I come back to the home, spend some time with family. Around 10 o'clock 10:30 I sleep. So that is how my day is.
That sounds like a very thorough routine.
So Monday to Friday, yes, it's like that.
Yeah.
Saturday, Sunday, if there is no incident or something big is
If
going
there is
on,
no
then
incident.
yeah. So that is
Yeah.
one thing. Like if you are not happy with lot of hard work, then cybersecurity is also not your field. Like cybersecurity, curiosity is very important. Passion about your security, passion about cybersecurity is very important. And third thing is hard working. Like okay, you have these two things, but you are not hard worker, then cybersecurity is not your field. Because hackers never sleep. Like okay,
Yeah.
they can hack your account even Saturday night,
Right.
Friday night. Generally it happens like
Yeah, yeah.
that.
Correct.
So
Yeah.
you need to be aware. Like okay, Friday night what is happening.
Yeah.
So that is like day-to-day routine, and it is like you need to be on your toes for 24/7.
You said hackers keep you on your toes. But hackers also communicate a lot among each other,
Yes.
which is something that companies don't do.
Correct.
Tools also don't talk to each other because they're separate private companies.
Yeah.
What do you think can be done better so that information is exchanged between companies and tools as easily as it is done between hackers?
Yeah, I can't comment on the tools because they are owned by the
Companies,
private
let's say
companies.
companies, yeah.
But let's talk about the individuals.
Yeah.
So I think you are doing the great initiative, like having these community meetings where you are inviting the CISOs of various
Thank you.
companies.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that is a really great initiatives. So likewise, there should be multiple initiatives where and already some of the forums are there which are doing excellent job. So basically you should be part of this kind of community, and I should say you should not afraid to share the information. Yes, definitely, as we are security professional, confidentiality, privacy, everything we know, and
Absolutely.
always it is there in back of our mind.
Yeah.
But we also need to understand what kind of information we can share. Like I am sharing some of the information over the podcast, but I am not share anything confidential.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
yes, you need to have that balanced approach, and then according to that you need to talk with other CISOs. You need to understand what kind of problems they are facing, if they have come across some of the scenarios. And it is yes very important, like because hackers communicate a lot
Yeah.
over the dark web and
Yeah,
all those.
yeah.
So we also need to develop the community where we talk with each other, each level horizontally as well as vertically. Like okay, junior members or the middle level career person can talk with the CISOs, can interact with the CISOs. Even as a CISO, I learn a lot from the freshers like who just joined, because they are so much into hacking. Now my hacking technique might be very old. I may not be able to hack that efficiently as a fresher or a new person is hacking. So I also learn a lot. So horizontally as well as vertically, lot of engagement is required, and I think thanks to you and lot of other forums like Ofofo,
Yeah.
this is now happening, but it should happen more.
Thank you, Devam. Well said. So from this on, I'm going to move to the next segment of the show,
Yep.
in which I'm going to ask ChatGPT to come up with
Okay.
some would you rather questions.
Okay.
And you tell me whatever is the better option for you.
Okay.
All right.
And do I need to mention why?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's on you, man. Come on. If you want to, you do it.
Okay.
All right.
It will be funny and slightly scary.
So I have the first one with me, Devam.
Thank you. Yes.
Would you rather always have to sing everything you say or have to dance every time you move?
Dance. I like to dance.
Dance every time you move. Okay. Would you rather live in a world where it's always summer or always winter?
I prefer winter.
You prefer winter. Okay. Would you rather lose your sense of taste or your sense of smell?
Oh, okay. This is like okay, smell or taste. Okay. Maybe smell.
Okay, maybe
Taste is important.
yeah.
Smell is also important, but yeah.
The both are interrelated, but I think taste.
Taste,
is
yeah, मजा नहीं आएगा
मजा
खाने
नहीं
में
आएगा.
फिर.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. Would you rather always know when someone is lying, or be able to get away with any lie you tell?
I would like to know the people when they are lying because I don't lie so much. Sometimes, yeah, it's okay. So it's great. Like if I can catch people.
Would you rather be able to pause time or rewind time?
Okay. Interesting. It's becoming harder and harder. Like,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Rewind time. I will buy Bitcoin. I miss that. I'll buy huge amount of Bitcoins.
Okay. Well said. Would you rather have unlimited money but never be able to travel, or travel anywhere for free but live on a tight budget?
Travel.
Anywhere for free. But
Yeah,
tight
yeah,
budget.
travel and enjoy the life. Okay.
Okay. Next one. Would you rather have a photographic memory or be able to forget anything you want?
I prefer photographic memory.
Uh-huh.
Although tough choice, but yeah, forgetting is on you, so we need to learn that.
Yeah. All right, Devam, the last one. Would you rather be the funniest person in the room or the smartest person in the room?
I think funniest.
Funniest.
Because it's important to interact with people and just having like spending some light moments.
Correct.
Anyway, many smart people are there who are smarter than me, so it's okay. I don't want to become the smart.
All right, Devam, what's on the future roadmap for you?
Yeah, so I want to create a better world from the security point of view where everybody feels safe and they feel whenever they go home or even they are working, they feel safe. They feel like their families are also safe. So that is, I think, something my very far dream kind of thing which I want to achieve and want to develop the entire secure ecosystem.
Okay, all right. And if people want to get in touch with you, want to interact with you, how can they go about doing that?
Best way to reach out to me is my LinkedIn.
Mhm.
I am very active on my LinkedIn, so they can just send me a request or follow me, and definitely I try to answer almost everyone on my LinkedIn.
Absolutely. The link will be in the description.
Yeah.
Devam, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you with us on the show.
Thank
I'm looking
you.
forward to the next episode.
Thanks a lot. Have
Thank
a
you.
great day.
You too.